Sweet. Oh, well, Chief, is Oscar travelling?
He definitely is.
Yep. So you said last week he was likely to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. So what sort of happened?
Oh, he had a good week of rehab, and it's better than expected. So hopefully we can maybe give him some game time tomorrow, depending on how the game pans out. I'm hoping to at least give him maybe 20 minutes just to see how he is, but he's doing a lot better than what we thought.
No risk?
There's always a risk with any player that gets injured, but that's something that we'll monitor in the morning. The main thing is that he recovers from the travel properly. We'll assess that in the morning and then see how the game pans out.
Yeah, I guess not too many people expected you to be performing as well as you have and get the results, but now that you're playing a team at the bottom of the table, all of a sudden there's a bit of expectation that this team's doing quite well. So, yeah, what's the plan for these next couple of games, I guess? Do you feel like there are 6 points that you can grab there?
Expectation stays the same for every game. Whether they're bottom or they're top, the intent's the same from our team. We're travelling away from home. We want to have a good performance, good solid 90 minutes playing the football that we're trying to play. And if the result comes, it comes.
Any other injuries?
At the moment, no. Everyone's pretty much okay.
Chiefy, what do you make of Chloe Knott's departure from the women's team?
To be fair, I don't know much. I only saw little bits and pieces today. Unfortunately, I've been very busy the last couple of days, so I'll probably, come to or inform myself over the next couple of days. But my focus, to be fair, is on the game.
She did release a statement, and I'll just read a little bit of it. She
Sure.
said, "It's not good enough to wait for something drastic to happen before changes are made. As a member of the club that she plays for,
Sure.
New Plymouth flight today. The coach that will take you to New Plymouth will be departing here at approximately 1:15, boarding through
1:15.
Just as a member of the club, what do you make of a statement like that?
Well, that's a very broad statement, so I can't really make much out of that. Probably need more detail, to be fair, so I don't know what context it's put in. I'm not sure who she's referring to, so unless I know a little bit more, I really can't speculate.
And just on player well-being in your own team, how important is it for the players to have good well-being?
Well, that's our job, right? The coaching staff, the club structure. We do, I think, a very good job in making sure the welfare of the players are looked after, especially the mental health, as well as from day to day and how they feel, how they are part of the group. For me, the main thing is that we create an environment where people want to be part of. That's just not an overnight thing. That takes a lot of planning. That takes a lot of diligent research on behalf of the staff and the club. So it's quite an extensive process. But I feel like we do an adequate job.
Do you think the women's team gets enough support from the Wellington Phoenix?
Well, I think any women's team doesn't get enough support. Everyone can get more support. It depends what context you look in. But if you look at the maturity of the program from where it was a couple of years ago to now, it's grown immensely. It's a professional space, which is a different dynamic to being more of a like a club, semi-pro sort of environment. So I think the club has taken some, really huge steps in that regards. But like I said, I don't want to speculate on something I don't know what's referred to. But it is what it is. Yeah.
Those comments come as a little bit of a surprise this morning.
Again, I'm not really sure what context the comments were made. I haven't sat down and read through the statements, so I don't want to say anything that is off colour. But I'm sure she has her concerns, and rightly so, she can express them. But I can't really give to what she said.
So there's no indication beforehand?
Sorry to interrupt, guys, but in all honesty, this is not Chiefy's role to be answering questions about the women's program. He's the head coach of the men's team. I think he's answered enough about that. Sorry, it's not really appropriate. If that's all right, if we can just focus on this weekend. Can
I ask you, it is related to the men's, but with Auckland coming into the league, do you think it's a good thing for the Phoenix to have a second team out of New Zealand?
I think it's healthy. Yeah, I think competition also drives expectation standards. I think being the only club in the country has given the club obviously an opportunity to grow, but now that with Auckland in the picture, it puts competition on players, on staff, and also for me the main thing is identity. And I think any good club has a good, strong sense of self. I think it's very, very important that we stick to what we're doing at the moment. I think our planning is quite extensive, and we have a clear idea of what the club stands for. So I think competition just enriches that. It's always good to have a derby as well. It's always good to, to have a comparison as well. Just up the road, like Sydney FC to Wanderers, for example, Melbourne Victory to Melbourne City. It's very, very important for the landscape.
Does that give you an advantage having that youth focus now and having an academy that's been going for 10 years? Because as much as they splash money on marquees and things, it's going to take them a long time to have a fully full.
Yeah, I mentioned this before. I think the hardest thing is what you're going to represent, and for me it's easy to spend money and try to get instant results, but the longevity of that is there's only so much money you can spend, right? I don't think they're Real Madrid, we're not Barcelona, so the main thing is that the club is producing players of their own product, so that they're getting turned through, they're part of the club, and it's also something for fans to identify with, and have an attachment to the club. And I think that's what's missing with a lot of clubs. But the ones that do are successful.
And playing in Ballarat, does that provide any bigger challenge travelling out there?
I think the challenge, it's all the away trips are quite taxing. I think especially going to Melbourne, we have an hour and a half tomorrow travelling to the ground. That's going to be just as taxing as the trip, but we have an ample time to recover. It's an early flight today, but all the away games are challenging.
And what have you made of their start to the season?
I think they've been very unlucky, to be fair. If you look at the chances they had against Adelaide, I thought they were quite unlucky not to get something out of that game. Even in the previous games, they had that really good result against Melbourne City in the first game, and they went off the boil probably after the Wanderers game. But they've regrouped quite well. They've got a lot of experience. They've got some really dangerous players, so they're not a team to be taken lightly.
How fulfilling is it to have the younger players you've rewarded with contracts, Alex Paulson, Lucas Kelly here, be playing at such a high level already?
That's satisfying from a personal level. For us, the big question now is consistency and making sure they can turn over performance week after week. The one thing that you're always guaranteed of is with young players is that they're always going to be consistent in performance, and it's just a matter of just riding that wave and just giving them the right mindset to deal with when things obviously don't work out as you plan. At the moment I wouldn't say a honeymoon period, but we haven't experienced a loss yet. So for me, once we go through that, it'll be a real test to see where their head's at. And I think if we're doing a good job, we can stabilise them, and then the next performance will be a real indication of where they're at.
On a personal note, it must feel pretty good to remain undefeated as an A-League coach so far.
Yeah, I don't think anyone likes losing. I think it's nice to win games, be undefeated. For me, I don't really take any personal recognition. I'm not into that. For me, the main thing is that the group plays well. And that we give something for the fans to enjoy, and that ultimately what it comes down to. And there'll be games where I think this year we'll lose and we'll play unbelievably well, and there'll be games where we might jag a result where we're not playing it as well. So for me, it's more about the performance overall over a long period for us to get anything out of the season.
And you've struggled on attack on the road a bit this season.
Have we? I haven't heard that.
Against Melbourne.
Yes.
Has anything changed with this week? Is it just different oppositions?
Well, you have to look at context, right? So we played two teams away from home who are undefeated, right? So Melbourne Victory haven't lost a game, Wanderers haven't lost a game, and they're both sitting up high on the table. So they are good opponents and very hard actually to play. It's not by design, let me tell you. We're not going there and going, we're not going to shoot, or it's just sometimes things like travel things like just team cohesion, and sometimes the opposition do things tactically that change within the game, and we don't necessarily adapt quick enough. But I feel like as though the team is maturing nicely, where we're now starting to, on our own, if plan A doesn't work, plan B might work. If that's not working, plan C is. So we do train for that. And I think I mentioned a long time ago, for me, the main thing is that people understand that this is an ongoing process. We're not peaking now, we want to peak at the end of the season, and it's a work in progress.